Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print3D channel. Today is September 21st, and that means day 264 of the 3DP 365 project. On today's episode, we printed out this very cool abstract twist vase. And it's pretty tiny, so I scaled it up to 250%, so stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back, and thank you for joining me here for day 264 of the 3DP 365 project. On today's episode, it's this abstract twist vase, and I really wasn't sure this guy was going to print. This has got some seriously extreme angles, and the way it prints out, it just looked very challenging for any printer, let alone my gMax 1.5 XT Plus. And this is actually the 100% scale of the model. This is how big the model is. So I knew if I did a test print, I'd be able to see if I needed to fix anything before I scaled it up to the size I really wanted. And of course, the print turned out almost perfect. There are some areas where it did cause a little bit, not so much of a collapse, but you could see that if I had printed it any faster, it definitely would have collapsed. And there's a few little thin areas there at the very, very top where the top of the vase tapers off. And I knew it would be an issue if I kept printing at the same speed, which was 40 millimeters per second. Believe it or not, I printed this little guy at 40 millimeters per second in vase mode. And it only took about an hour to print. And once it finished, I examined it very carefully, and the only trouble spots I could see were there at the top, the parts I showed you. The rest of the print looks really, really good. So I took it back over to Simplify 3D, and I scaled it up to 250%, and I sent it over to the gMax using the same filament. All I did was reload the SD card and printed it out. And these are the results. It actually looks stunning. This is such a cool model. My wife says it reminds her of the way soft serve comes out of one of those dispensers at an ice cream parlor. And I think it looks really, really cool. It is such a cool design. There was no collapsing, so I was very happy to see that because I did let it print overnight. I watched the first few layers go, and then I let it print because I knew whatever was going to happen was going to happen. There was really nothing I could do to prevent it. And if it did fail, I'd have something to show you as far as how a fail occurs for something this crazily twisted. This vase is just, it is amazing. I love this design. It's very, very beautiful. And I'll put the link down in the description so you guys can download and print this one yourself. And we use some of that Matterhackers Pro Series PLA in silver on this print. And you can really see the polygons when you scale it up to 250%. I mean, if the artist had put out the model at this size, I don't think you could see the polygons whatsoever. But publishing the model at this size, you don't really see the polygons, but as soon as you scale it up, you will see them. And my gMax picked up every little bit of detail on this model. It did a stellar job, and there were no problems with the print whatsoever. There were no blobs, there were no globs. There's no sign of under extrusion whatsoever. Those areas that kind of collapse near the top, they still have that same kind of thinness to them. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's basically the filament, it kind of just laid in the air because it's such an extreme angle, right? Especially on this taper here. But it did solidify. We dropped this down to 30 millimeters per second. That's why it took so long to print. It was a 7-hour print for 250% scale at 0.2 millimeter layer height in vase mode. But the filament was able to lay down and construct this piece. Now, I definitely wouldn't call that a successful print because it definitely needs to be a lot more solid, and I probably could put my finger through here if I really tried. It's really, really thin right there. I would think maybe a larger diameter nozzle would have more success printing this. We have a 0.5 millimeter nozzle, which is basically the standard. Between 0.4 and 0.5 is basically what you get with your 3D printer. But if we use one of those big Volcano 1.0 or 1.2 nozzles on this and really scaled it up big, I don't think it would have any problem. There'd be no collapse whatsoever because you're putting down such a huge bead of filament. The layers below it might actually still be a little bit tacky depending on the speed you run it at. And I don't think we'd have that same kind of lacy wisping issue that's right there at the top. And it's in a couple of spots, but it's definitely something that I'm going to overlook. I'm not going to reprint it. I just know what I need to do if I decide to print this again, which is either A, get a bigger nozzle, or B, slow it down even more. I don't think I can improve my settings to fix how that laid down. especially in base mode. Now, if I did multiple perimeters, this wouldn't be an issue, but it would also use a ton of filament, and there would be a lot of those extra top layers that go down for support for these walls, because Simplify 3D would see this angle and think that it needs more support than just a couple of perimeters. So it'd turn out to be pretty messy and pretty stringy inside. But printing it out in base mode, we had a very successful print at 250%. And of course, the cute little 100% vase turned out awesome, and I'm really happy with the results. This is a very, very cool model. The designer did an amazing job, and even though I was a little paranoid that this would collapse, we had successful prints. Well, that about wraps it up for day 264 of the 3DP 365 project. If you're looking for ways to support the channel, check out the affiliate links down in the description. If you make a purchase through Matterhackers, Amazon, or GearBest, it kicks a little bit back to the channel. It doesn't cost you a penny, and I really appreciate it. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share those videos, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.